earlier I was listening to you talk about your Focus RS.
I thought Ford retired the Focus. First of all, you're on a 30-minute timeout, okay? I do not drive a Focus. I drive a Ford Focus RS, okay? You can say, Destiny, you drive an RS, right? That's acceptable. Or Destiny, you drive a Focus RS, right? That's acceptable. Don't ever say that I drive a Focus, ever, okay? That's like saying, don't you have 2 inches of dick? And it's like, technically true, but I need you to talk about the other 7 inches as well, okay? Do you understand what you're doing there? So take a 30-minute break, take a deep breath, understand what you did wrong, okay? Either RS or Focus RS. Don't ever say or tell a friend or ask me about a Focus, okay? Ever. Don't ever do that.
And I was empathizing with your frustration when people just call it a Focus. I don't know if you noticed at the canvassing event, the other, well, not the other, but the Focus ST that was there. That was me. So yeah, I tried to park next to you a few times because I thought it would be funny, but I didn't get the opportunity.
What's the implication here?
What?
Are you trying to imply that we're similar? That you have similar problems with people saying that you drive a Focus because you have an ST? Barely a step up from a Fiesta? Is that what you're trying to say right now?
Talking shit about my ST?
Yeah, I am talking shit about. I don't want you to.
Kind of cringe.
Okay, that's like Kobe Bryant talking about how like people don't appreciate me at my level of athleticism, and then like the high school basketball player is like, "True, dude, we don't get the props we deserve." Okay.
I think the ST is at least like college player, maybe compared to the RS.
What is the engine in the ST?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay, well, the RS has the EcoBoost 2.3 liter engine. Okay, that's in the Mustang V6 models. Okay,
I know it's
or
an
V4,
EcoBoost. I just don't know.
No, man. I shouldn't have said V anything. It's not V6. It's an EcoBoost engine. It's a good car. Yourself in a video game. What do you want to talk about?
Right. What is race?
I don't know.
Yeah, but shouldn't you? Shouldn't you have an answer to that?
It's not V4. There's no such thing as a 4-cylinder arrangement. I don't know why I said before. It's a
Wait, no, I'm not.
No, I know. I'm sorry, but I said something retarded. Okay, because the EcoBoost engine is not a V6. But I don't know why I said V6. But there's a V6 and a V8 Mustang. But there must also be an EcoBoost Mustang. But my brain short circuited. Sorry.
No one cares.
Anyway,
Well, no, because somebody's gonna make a Reddit post of it, and I'm already traumatized by it. What is race or ethnicity? The problem is I don't know. People mix up like race and ethnicity all the time, and I don't know if there's like
they do.
Yeah, so I don't know. I have no idea. I truly have no idea.
Okay. Well, I mean,
for example, like people talk about
right.
like Hispanic or Latino. I've heard both of these referred to as races and ethnicities, and I've heard some people virulently argue that one is like not a race and not an ethnicity. And then I had that conversation with Annalicia, and she mentioned something where she said something like her race wasn't black or something like that. She said something like that, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you're using this term completely wrong. And then I looked up in Canada, and in Canada, I think they use race and ethnicity completely the opposite that we do. So I have no idea. Yeah. So go ahead.
So, well, I was just gonna say, I think race. I think we like if we were describing like a race, what we're talking about more specifically is like a racialized group. So like.
So you want to say like black is a race, like black people or Hispanic people or what?
Yeah, well, exactly. So like, because like fundamentally, like there's no like biological basis, right? Like there's no genetic, like racial categories.
Well,
so
depends on because that's absolutely not true. If you're gonna say like if we're talking skin color, that's a biological thing, obviously, right? Or a genetic thing, obviously.
So let me to clarify, like usually like a race is or like the word race historically at least like refers to a combination of like physical features, but also like behavioral like characteristics.
Well, that's a way spicier thing. I don't know if I would subscribe to that. That's like a race realist, or they've got like a new fancy term they use now. If we're talking race.
Well, exactly. But that's like how race was historically constructed and used, right? Like
maybe
like
sure.
it was you were presumed to be part of a racial group, then you were assigned these or expected to like have these properties, right?
Probably yeah. That sounds about right. Sure.
Yeah, and so like that's not we're not like we're not completely removed from that, right? Like these were the fact that we still refer to like black people as black people and white people as white people, even though like no one's like literally white and no one's literally black. Like these are referring to like these are massive umbrella terms, but we only use these terms because of that racialized history, right?
I don't know. I kind of want to know where we're going because I want to kind of sort of agree with you, but if this is like setting up an argument and my agreement here like hinges on one of these important agreements, I'm probably going to fight on a lot of this, but I don't know exactly where you're going with this. So
I'm not trying to like set you up to knock you down or anything like that. But I am saying that like the word white, like the fact that we use the word white, I think the fact that we still use that means that we still are we're still dealing with like racialized context. And so like I mean our whole disagreement at the canvassing event, by the way, everyone who's watching, I'm the guy from the canvassing video, the first like 7 minutes.
Nice.
We were talking about like the words whiteness and stuff, and I know you don't like the word whiteness.
Well, I'm okay with the word whiteness. It's fine. That's okay. We can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that you like won't talk about it, but like you seem to like have not like it being used in I don't know. You seem to have problems with it before.
Well, hold on. That's like saying I have a problem with the word rape, and it's like, well, I don't have a problem with the word rape, and you're like, oh, well, it seemed like you don't like it when people are raped. Well, it's like, well, yeah, that's true. So when you say like I have a problem with the word whiteness, I think there's a lot of really good conversations to have about like whiteness and concepts related to whiteness, but that doesn't necessarily mean I approve of like the way that it's used in like some of the school textbook stuff we were talking about. That's a fundamental.
Well, but it wasn't. Okay, to be clear though, it wasn't a textbook, right? It was a book. It was a book for instructors.
Correct.
So like, why shouldn't it be used in that context if it's like specifically like referring to like racialized structures?
Well, because the markedly different treatment between black people, black students, and white students in those texts made me feel very uncomfortable. That's why I didn't like them.
So I don't necessarily agree that it was advocating. Maybe this was part of the hinge of our disagreement there. That I don't really agree that it was like prescribing to like treat these different students differently explicitly based on that.
If you want,
but
I was gonna say if you want, because I'm not obsessed with Factorial anymore. We can go through the textbook right now if you want, because I think didn't we link it to each other in the DMs? If you want, we can start reading through stuff, and if you want to do that.
Yeah, we can. But I would say it does advocate for things like trying to I think one of the things that you thought was cringy, which I might even agree with this one, or at least the framing of it, was like using like referring to like mathematical figures from like racial, like connecting to your racial ancestry or something.
Yeah.
Was like one of the words. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I think that idea at least is still valuable. Like trying to connect a lot of like mathematical ideas back to like underrepresented like figures in mathematics that like might not get so much appreciation.
Sure, but I think we have to do like
we're obvious reasons.
On a very broad level, there's like a very weird thing that's happened. Okay, like. In some ways, it feels like progressives have like looped around to some weird old conservative thought that is not true, okay? If you're an African American living in the United States, you're way more American than you are African. You have nothing to do with Africa. And if you go there, the people probably aren't gonna like you. You're probably not gonna like them, and your culture's gonna be totally different. So I don't know, like the comparing of like black people today as like, well, we need to tap into your like native tribalistic like ancestral roots and like, you know, bring out your inner Wakandan warrior or whatever, some shit to do math problems. That's like pretty weird to me. Like they're going to be able to vibe with whatever any white student in the classroom is going to be able to vibe with more than whatever African methods of teaching herbal medicinary and mathematics. I'm strawmanning a little bit, but like, yeah, I don't know. That framing just seemed like kind of weird to me. I didn't like that. But again, yeah, I mean, if you want to, I'll make the invitation. We can go through like the textbook if you want to read it. Yeah. Let me.
So it's called Dismantling Racism in Mathematics Instruction. And just so I can kind of reiterate my issue, the reason this all came up. So at the canvassing event, and I didn't know this was being recorded, and it ended up on the canvassing video, which was kind of cool, but also terrifying. But I was pushing back because there's been several times in conversations, usually with conservatives, where you'll mention this book and describe it as advocating that like black students need to like run around the classroom to learn math, because they like fundamentally need to learn math differently than white students. And I thought this was a bad way to represent the content of this book. And I would add on top